Howdy, welcome back to Diamond Video. Today I would like to talk to you about Diamond's development plan for itself, how we hope to become better at whatever we're engaged in, and a lot of it boils down to you. So we think we've put together a relatively rational recipe for improving our companies. And it involves a lot of elements that aren't all headed in the same direction, but we think they're going to overall bring the entire group in the same direction. So let's jump in. One of the first things we're going to do is ask you to figure out who you are. We have a variety of tools that we're going to ask you to use to think about who you are. I think the most important thing we'd ask you to consider is that you really don't know who you are. I think a lot of us live our lives much more unsure of who we are or carrying misconceptions about ourselves longer than we should. And I think one of the things you'll get out of these tools, the Cliff Strengths Finder, the Myers-Briggs, which is the most famous, is to come to realize there are things about yourself you didn't realize and that you are a little more complicated than first blush. I'll leave that for now. We'll also offer but not request that you take Understand Myself. And here's why. We're going to ask that you do the Cliff Strength Finder. We're going to ask that you do the Myers-Briggs. I think Understand Myself is significantly more valuable, but Understand Myself is a little more difficult to understand. So it's more valuable, but it's going to use words that psychologists use in a very specific way. And if you misunderstand those and use them in the normal vernacular way, then it's going to be confusing and it may even come across as discouraging or confrontational. It's not, but it can come across that way unless you take the 20 minutes to do the test and then an hour or more to listen to explanations of what the results mean. You're going to have to spend some time on YouTube. We can point you to the videos for someone to explain to you what they meant by that, because it's not obvious in English. So we're going to ask you to do Strength Finder and Myers-Briggs to kind of figure out who you are. Then we're going to spend some time working on skill sets. Let's take an assessment of where you are right now. What are your current skill sets? We're going to do a SWOT analysis: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Your coworkers are going to be asked to talk about you and confidentially write some notes down of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what the opportunities are for you to improve, and what might be some threats to your professional development, some threats to your ability to contribute at work. This is often regarded with a lot of stress at the outset, and most everyone on the back end does well. The only people that really struggle with this are perfectionists who try to write down, okay, by next year, no one will have any criticism left of me, and I'll just fix everything. That's adorable. It turns out everyone knows what your weaknesses are. You've brought your weaknesses with you. They've been with you your whole life. They're with you for reasons. You're probably not going to fix them in the next 15 minutes, and you really haven't hidden them well from your coworkers. So let's get these things out in the open. Let's discuss them. Let's not be afraid of them. So the SWOT is actually very helpful in helping you see what your skill set is. Your quarterly and annual review with your direct report, with your supervisor, should also touch on these things, the current status of your skill set. Those reviews should be talking about not only the progress you've made on goals that you set for the year, for checking boxes on accomplishments, and I'll have this project done by this date. That's good. But in addition, you should be discussing your skill sets in your quarterly and annual review with your direct report. Both of these are very focused on who you are, because I think that's how Diamond's going to become better. We're also going to ask you to spend some time on communication. It's much more difficult than children think to work in an industry, to take your profession seriously, and to recognize things and come to understandings down here and then articulate them verbally. It's much more challenging than people think. Saying what you mean and meaning what you say is a challenge. And so we're going to be patient with each other. We're going to do things like listen to someone else describe what they think is right, what they think is appropriate in this situation. And often it's a good idea to ask them or to repeat back to them what you think you heard them say and let them critique that so they can say, yes, that's what I said. Communication is a two-way street. You're going to need to work on saying what you mean as clearly as you can, and you're going to need to work on listening for the intent of what someone else says, even if they phrase it slightly wrong. Because it's tough to take something you know down here and to say it perfectly up here, or even worse, to write it in an email. That's a challenge. So we're going to spend a good deal of time working on communication. All of these things have to do with you, because as you become better at who you are, Diamond's going to improve. All this leads toward a goal of improving who you are. And before we even talk about that, I want to say, please give us 3 years. Because if you give us 3 months, there's really nothing we can do in helping you overcome either persistent problems you've had or in really honing and sharpening your skills. This is not a basketball team. This is not a club. We're in a profession where if this stuff were easy, people would do it themselves at home for themselves. The reason people bring their cars to us, they come here for haircuts, the reason that we sell them oil for their car, we deal with their environmental problems is because these are a challenge. So let's respect the challenge of the industries in which we're engaged, and let's give ourselves a little patience. These things aren't solved in months, they're solved in years. Our team won't come together and congeal for maximum effectiveness in months. It's going to take some years. So everyone else will be patient with you. I'd ask that you be patient with yourself and that you be patient with your coworkers, with your teammates. And then we'll work on our ultimate goal of improvement, both of your performance and Diamond. So we're going to ask you to put together a personal development plan. That's going to have goals for the year, goals for the quarter. It's also going to talk about skills you want to improve and weaknesses you want to begin to control better so they don't have a material impact on your life. There will be on-the-job training that's going to be specific to you and your particular part of your career and your particular job. We're going to ask everybody to put together some sort of organizational tool, to engage some sort of organizational tool. Here's what I mean. My favorite is this book that I look at every week, and I put my priorities for the week over here, and then I've got my schedule for the week here, things I've delegated to others down here, and other notes. I like that, and it works for me. I'm not really concerned with what works for you. I'm concerned that you find something that helps you. One of the things that we need to improve on here at Diamond is to set goals, put time limits to those goals, put time frames to those goals, and be sure we're making progress toward those goals. So we're going to ask that you engage with some organizational tool that works for you, and we'd like you to share with your direct report what that is and how you're organizing your day, your week, your month. And if you're meeting your goals, it probably won't come up again. If you're not meeting your goals, we're going to want to go review that and see if there's a better way for you to organize yourself. You may be asked to do a session. These will be 6 to 9 months, every other week, about an hour, hour and a half phone call with a business coach. These come up for a variety of reasons. I think they're helpful for a variety of reasons. I won't get into that right now. It's one of the resources we're going to have here, and you or your coworkers will be engaged in that at some point. We also have other resources. You should talk with HR and you should talk with your boss. Occasionally, we can help you get a really great deal on a pair of tires or a set of tires. Occasionally, if you and your household are struggling with managing your finances, we would be happy as your employer to pay your way to go through a Dave Ramsey course because we think there's a lot of common sense in there. And if you'd like to go through what he calls Financial Peace University, we'd be happy to foot the bill, because as you resolve those issues in your household, then you're going to be better at work. We can help you get that behind you. You may not want to discuss with your supervisor your specific financial needs. That makes perfect sense to us. If you call HR, if you talk to your boss, find out this is available. If you tell one of your employees, they could call HR. HR will ask that they complete the course, and then HR will pay the bill for it. And the rest of us don't need to know who took this or who took that. If it's a help to you, then we're happy to provide that. So we do have some other resources. Overall, what we're asking is to improve Diamond, to improve our bottom line, to improve our reach, to increase our customers, to increase the number of stores from which we work, increase our business lines. We want to increase all of that. And we think Diamond's development is dependent on your development. So we'd like to ask you to take a year to 3 years with us. Think about who you are. Find out better about yourself. figure out your skill sets, work very hard on communication. This is going to benefit you in your marriage as well. And then as we walk through these other things, what we're hoping to do is make a better you, which will make a better diamond. So thank you for listening. Remember who you are and what you stand for.